time. Hey, everybody. Look who I've got with me today. This is going to be a fun day.
Hello, everybody.
Now everybody's coming on board. You know, we got that little pause for the Instas, but we love the Insta folks. So welcome on board. I'm Liz. This is Wednesday. It is alive. This is Eshu. Eshu is one of our fabulous readers, makers, and teachers.
Yep.
And we are going to get into it in just a little while. I'm going to get the camera a little closer because even though I got that weird curl that just will not obey the world right now. Can you see it? I can see it. It's right up. Nope, right there. I don't know why. It just makes me think of that little poem. There once was a girl who had a little curl right in the middle of her forehead. And when she was good, she was very, very good. And when she was bad, she was horrid. My parents liked reading that to me. I had straight hair until I was 12. Mm-hmm. I had no idea what was coming.
Oh, yeah.
But what are we, I'm not even wearing what I was wearing. I took off all my rings. I'm sorry, folks, but I will show off some of the rings we still have from Tracy's Little Treasures for you all. Gosh, I've got a not working ring I brought in with me. I've got this, believe it or not, this is faceted, very pale amethyst. Mm-hmm. I've got a faceted lepidolite, and then I've got the abalone shell, which we're going to talk about that in a few minutes, that abalone thing. I love abalone. It's so pretty, and what are we drinking? I've got a weird mix today. I've got some hawthorn in here. I've got a little olive leaf and a little elderberry because my high schooler has like the worst sore throat and cough, and he's trying to get on with life anyway, and it's not been fun. Broke his fever yesterday, so we decided to go to school. So it's 2 hours. It's not a long time in school. You know, he's got a couple of classes over at the local community college. So I've got a few things in there to help me not catch what he's got, because I think he got my immune system, because I always catch what he has. So cross your fingers for me too. Send me the good energy. What do we got in store that's new? Well, I was going to be able to show you a whole bunch of singing bowls, but apparently we bought them out of like the last ones. So where I was trying to get a few, I maybe only got one, and all the big ones are gone from what I can see. They all left while I was on vacation last week. So I've got this. We've got the yellow ones too, still a couple of those, but we have some of these now. These are like little 4-inchers, if I recall correctly. Am I right? Yeah, this is a little 4-incher with a little tree. It's got a little bas relief of the Buddha inside. It is a beautiful singing bowl. I do like the tone of these guys. It's machined, and that's frankly is why it's $25 and not $85. And then I'm sure I've shown this off, but I was gone last week, so I don't remember anymore. That we've got these beautiful little cleansing kits. They've got a little white sage, a little Palo Santo for that burst of sunshine, and then a nice cleansing stone for you to keep. So my recommendation, if you think you need a good cleanse and you want like a full-on kit, come grab this, light this guy, bring that smoke everywhere. Go into the closets, go around the doors and windows. Just go to town, use this guy. If you don't use them all up because you got a small space, that's okay. I cheat. I run it under the faucet and put it on my windowsill for tomorrow. Then light your Palo Santo because it's got some of the same cleansing properties and frankly some of the same chemistry, but it's also got chemistry in common with citrus fruits. So you get a little sunshine coming in addition to the cleanse. I think this is like the frosting on the cake. And then the stone, just keep it with you. Honestly, it'll work when it's in that space, and it'll keep you clear every time you've got it. Shove it in a pocket, put it in your bag, however you want to carry it with you, but carry it with you. Stone cages are also great, and that shows it off and turns it into jewelry, which I don't mind that either. Right now we've got the little gold cages and some cord. Fabulous stuff. Will we get the net bags in? I hope so. But this is a mini cleansing kit. The big cleansing kit's coming out. I'm just waiting on some stones to come in, some worry stones to come in for a more like deluxe refined version. And that'll have another kind of sage in it and the worry stone and a shell. In fact, that shell is not the traditional, where's that ring? It's not the traditional abalone shell like this stuff. It is instead a lion's paw shell. And I'm going to encourage you, if you have not gotten a shell for any smoke cleansing work that you might be wanting to do, I'm going to encourage you to get a lion's paw and not an abalone, because the abalone shells keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller because we keep harvesting them and over harvesting them and over harvesting them, where they are not as renewable a resource as lion's paw shells are, because lion's paw shells are from a farmed scallop that we're going to eat anyway. So what it does is it gives us a reason to use that shell much more environmentally sound. So abalone shells are, I'll admit, kind of perfect because they have natural vent holes in them. You put that on a stand and the air can come through and help keep your smudge alive. Lion's paw shells are flatter. They do not have the venting holes, but by virtue of being flatter, the air has more access to them on the top. So pretty good, actually. So I recommend those instead. Now, there are no books or decks to show you because I was on vacation last week, as I said, so I did not order because I wasn't here. So this week, huge order is coming in today, like a double strength order is coming in today. So all kinds of fun stuff. So if you are looking for those date books, those calendars, they should be fully stocked today, but I'm not getting a lot at once. So grab them while they're here. Just like the larger singing bowls, I thought I'd be able to show off today that are all sold out already. Come grab them. Just make it a habit to stop by and see what we've got in stock. As for stuff coming up, let's talk about that. This Saturday, Alliance Coven will be here. I am very excited. These are three thoughtful, really impassioned teachers about Wicca, witchcraft, all of those sorts of subject matters. And this series of classes that are completely free. They're not even our by donation classes. They're not going to pass the hat at the end even. These are entirely their outer court or seekers style classes. So they cover a range of topics. You're really going to get kind of a good grounding in a lot of aspects of paganism with them. On Sunday, we have the Reiki share. Come in if you're Reiki 1, 2, or 3, and you just want to exchange energy with folks, get a little free Reiki, give a little free Reiki. We'll be doing that from noon to 1. Always a blast. I like doing that a lot. Give me an excuse to meditate. I will take it. Right? At 1, we're squeezing in the Yule Ornament event. Now, this is a fundraiser for the folks who put on Pagan Pride and Paganicon. They're 501c3. You can make a direct donation to them and be able to write it off your taxes. But we thought we'd have some fun with this. We've got a $5 fee for the supplies, and everything you pay over and above that goes directly to them. I think they might be sending a rep over to say hi and thank you, but either way, we'll be here. We've got some nice little clear ornaments and some herbs and things we'll be tossing in there. It should be a blast. We're just going to run that for about an hour as well. At 4 o'clock, we have our new palmistry teacher. Looky. Fabulous palmistry teacher. Should be a really good class as well. Just the style of readings that you do, I love. So I think you'll get a lot out of it. Even if palmistry is not necessarily like your first love, I'd still recommend the class. Now that's this weekend. Next weekend, Saturday the 29th, Astrology with Adam is at 3. And on Sunday, we've got at 10 a.m. before we open. So you kind of got to show up pretty close to on time. I got to be honest with you. We have a 1-hour class that is like pre-initiate Gardnerian type stuff. So come and find out more about how some local Gardnerians think. See if it's a group you want to join, just like the Alliance Coven. We'll cover a wide range of topics in that class as well. It's always a nice discussion, frankly. And we just got going on that. So, and then the following Saturday on the 6th, Alliance Coven will be back. And I'll cover more next week about December. It should be a load of fun. And this is the part I always forget. Look, I brought the sign in just to tell me. Come get your readings. It's coming up to the end of the year. It's starting to become a really good time to get your forecast for the coming year. If you've got questions about relationships, jobs, anything, come grab a reading. We've got today, Eshu is here all day and for the first half of Thursday. And then Heather comes in and she is a delightful young reader, really intuitive and very nice in her readings. On Friday, we have Ravenwolf from 1 to 4, and then Daryl is in from 4 to 6. Ravenwolf, he's been interviewed on here more than once. You've met him, you've known him. If you followed us, you love him. Easily one of our most popular readers, fantastic, thoughtful person, sort of amazing background educationally when it comes to this kind of stuff. So highly recommend his readings. Daryl is in then from 4 to 6, and he has his own Oracle deck that he's had printed for himself. He's got 2 copies of it. We keep bugging him to make more. It's just a cool deck. It's fun to get a reading from him just to experience that deck, and he's a good reader. Saturdays, we've got the day split between you from noon to 3, and Margaret, who is a delightful tarot reader, from 3 to 6. She is always fun. I recommend her as well. Sunday, you and I get to hang out all day, along with Jamie. Monday, Daryl is back in for a couple of hours, but noon to 2, so the start of the day instead of the end of the day. And Morpheus is in doing dream interpretation from 2 to 6. Tuesdays, you're back from noon to 3. And we had a lovely rune reader, but he got a real grown-up job. So we'll be filling that spot very soon. But stay tuned for more on that, is what I have to say there. So I did it. I got through the readers and everybody. So yay for this. But we're really here to talk about the gentleman who's going to be teaching the runes class on Sunday.
Yes.
Starting a hoodoo and American folk magic class in January.
Yeah.
Reading, you heard me over and over again. In-demand reader. What can I say? And all around good guy, because when people ask questions, you will step in and go, yep, I know a thing about that. And you help customers out even when you're not giving them a reading, which I think is very generous.
Yes.
So
what do you want to know? Where I came from?
Yeah, let's start with
Okay.
How you got started with all of this craziness.
Yes. Okay. My mother and I actually are practitioners down in the South. I came here from New Orleans, but my mother actually really helped me harness with my abilities, and was one of those where I grew up around all of this. So it just kind of came naturally. My mother's a hoodoo practitioner, and so a lot of that is actually what runs in my family as well, the South. And then my father's side, there's a lot of Ifa. And so therefore, a lot of this has just been something that's been a passion I grew up with. But a lot of my belief systems are very, sometimes unorthodox because, one could even say I'm a little bit self-taught when it comes to my magical practices. Because, I was kind of rebellious as I was growing up, and I just wanted to go and do my own thing. But yes, when I started I started originally reading when I was 16 years old, when I was working in Seattle at this shop called Edge of the Circle. And that was a really good one for me because that really helped me broaden it. I did not have confidence at that time, did not believe I could really do much. But when more people started finally coming in and telling me, actually everything you told me was true, it built up my confidence. But I took it full time, started working for myself when I moved down to New Orleans to be with my mother, and it just took off from there. And it just became a part of my everyday life. And so what ended up bringing me up here, though, is I came up here with my ex-partner, but I fell in love with this area, something very spiritual about here. And it just really started to sing to my soul. So even after we split up, this place I had built a really good relationship with Shodi out in Stillwater, and worked over at the Eye while they were still open. And it just all kind of led me here after I took a break. I took about a 2-year break to follow my own advice, because I do believe that we have to, follow our own advice, and you can't pour from an empty vessel.
This is true.
So I did some healing, and that's why I'm here again.
And we're loving it. We are absolutely loving having you here. So you do palmistry. I do tarot cards, I do runes, and I also, I do tea leaves. Pretty much anything in divination, I can do it. But I stick pretty much with tarot cards and palmistry while I'm here. Because, because I don't really want to bring my tea bags and have to go through all of that with everybody. And just so you guys know, I don't know how often I share this, everyone here who can read anything has auditioned in that thing specifically. I auditioned with a coworker at the time. But everyone here, so you had auditioned as a reader. It was almost a formality. Come on. I had my expectations. And then somebody wanted their palm read, and our palm reader has taking a break and you piped up because you were here.
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, go 3 minutes, read a poem. And of course, so yes, everyone auditions on every medium that they choose to use,
Mhm.
even if it's perfunctory in my mind.
Yes.
So your style of reading is one of my favorite styles because you lay all the cards out and you look at the whole picture
Mhm.
and then you create the narrative that the
Right.
cards are telling you.
Exactly.
And that's what you share. Tell me how you came to that style.
I'm a channeler, and so a lot of the time I read off of the energy. I mean, yes, I do stick with the interpretation, but when I'm reading people, it's like I would tell people when I would be reading them, even a different person can get the same layout. It will mean something completely different because it's one of those things where I'm already seeing this when I'm talking to somebody doing my reading, but I use my cards just to kind of as a way to kind of break it down, open it up for people, also give them a visual so they can see what I'm already seeing. So it's just kind of like, it's like I would tell people, it's like a distorted radio up there. The tarot cards or what I'm using is what is the dial I'm using to tune it. So when I'm reading it, I can't read the card just by itself. I have to read out the entire thing that's going on around it, what's pulling me in at that particular time. And that is why I don't let people tell me what they want to know about. I don't want to go in with any form of a bias. So that's why I do what I do.
And I have the same attitude about reading. I don't really want to know what your question is.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, as a result, I don't answer the question you thought you were going to get answered, but it always inevitably turns out I answer the question that you have been dwelling on for at least the last 3 days.
Exactly.
Which, so you might have come in thinking I want advice about my job, but you've been obsessed with your romantic relationships. That's what the reading's going to be about for me.
Right.
And it sounds like you work very similarly.
Very similarly. It does answer their question, but it does go into what's really going on because I believe in going all the way to the core of what led to that question in the first place, why things aren't working. It's kind of like I will notice, I call it patterns and threads because I start to finally understand, go right in there. It's almost like I'm pulling that one thread and it ends up kind of unraveling everything and you can see everything that's going on with that person.
Yeah.
And so I like to go to the very depth of things. And that's why even if I don't have a lot of time, I will try to focus on one thing, but it always ends up balancing out. So
yeah, and that is one of the things about readings here is they're paid for by the minute.
Mm-hmm.
So you can either let the reading go on for as long as it needs to, or you can set a time limit in advance, and then our readers will accommodate that time limit. I have seen some readers willing to do a 3-minute reading, but that's not real common. That's like a 1-card pull and a brief explanation. Most folks want at least 5 if they're going to do a reading. And I would say the average reading here is probably closer to 20 minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I will do a 5-minute reading just to give somebody a sample because I do believe that everybody who comes to me needs a message at that particular time. And it's not always about the money so much as it is just finally being able to show that person what they need at that particular time.
Yeah.
But if you're going to get an actual reading, I would recommend a minimum of at least 15 minutes with me so we can actually get to the depth. But I have no problem when it comes to a 5-minute reading.
Yeah, I will do a short minute. And honestly, sometimes I look upon that as that's all the information this person's prepared to really handle at this moment. And to overburden them would be potentially cruel.
Exactly. And also sometimes people aren't always ready for what they're going to be getting a reading for.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people will come with a preconceived notion. Sometimes they just want to know about love, money, health, things like that. And if you go and you tell them the whole depth of things, they are overwhelmed. And then it starts to a plethora of other problems. And I'm not one of those people that likes to draw people in for extra money because that's one of those that's cruel and also predatory.
Yeah, very much. Yeah, no, that doesn't work. It just doesn't work in the long run for anybody involved.
Exactly.
Reader included. Just a warning for those of you out there who might be that type of reader. Cut it out. You're cutting yourself off at the feet, ultimately, in my opinion.
And also it takes a toll on us up here, and
does.
it can take a physical toll. And that's another reason why I have to work very pure. I have to keep myself, and I have to follow my own advice too, because that's another thing. If you are not someone that is perfectly grounded in what you're doing, you can get really messed up.
Yes,
and
you can.
I've seen people actually diminish. Their health will diminish.
Yep.
Their mental health will diminish. I've seen people, because being out in New Orleans, I've watched people who were on top all of a sudden be on the streets, and it was not fun.
Oh, I've told this here before, but I don't know if you've ever heard it. I found someone to teach me tarot. I would clean her house and exchange her tarot lessons in high school.
Mhm.
And there was a point where she was doing readings for herself. And I had heard out in the community, you don't do readings for yourself. But she was doing readings for herself, and she was doing them daily. And she got to the point where she opted to check herself into the local mental health facility at the local hospital in central Minnesota.
Yeah.
And she stayed for a 72-hour hold. And she didn't stay longer. She didn't need longer. But absolutely the thing that shifted her into that direction was falling into that trap of giving herself tarot readings over and over again.
It can literally drive you crazy, because another thing is, no matter what anybody says, some people just don't have the capacity to be honest with themselves. And so what they'll do is they'll continue to shuffle them, continue to draw more cards, and it can cause anxiety. And that's why I tell people, yes, you can go ahead, by all means, read yourself, but you can't tell yourself what you want to hear. You can't just use them to lie to yourself. And that's what, unfortunately, a lot of people will do, because they want to be able to solve all these problems. Or how can I bypass actually working on myself? And
exactly.
So that's what it becomes. And that's why I don't tell people you need to come get a reading all the time. But I tell people a second opinion, an unbiased opinion, someone who's objective, doesn't know you.
And someone from outside your situation can make a big difference. And if they get what you got, great, you have a confirmation. That's brilliant. So if you're learning tarot or any of these methods of divination, any of the radio stations, as it were, do read for yourself, because you're the handiest person you can practice on.
Exactly.
But be aware that you have to be super honest with yourself, and that's hard to do. I was thinking about this model that I was taught a very long time ago about who we are in life. It was actually in the context of ritual and my philosophy about ritual, which is that I am every participant in the ritual that I am in. I am, if you're doing some sort of pagan ritual where you've got a god and a goddess, I am the god, I am the goddess, but I'm also every person in that room, because I'm seeing them all through my perception, and they're in the same position I am. So they're doing exactly the same thing, recognizing then that there are parts of myself that I show everybody, that we all know. You know this about me. I know this about me.
Right.
I've deliberately chosen often to show you this about me, because there are things I've chosen to hold in reserve, things that only I know about me that you may never know about me. But there are also things, because you're not me, that you can see about me that I cannot necessarily see about myself. And you know things about me I can't know.
Exactly.
And then there's the stuff nobody ever sees or realizes. It's way under the surface. So I've always thought of it as like a 4-pane window. And getting a reading from somebody else is getting that perspective of, well, there's stuff you can't see about yourself, because it would just wound you, or it would, you'd have to admit that, oh my gosh, I am that parent. Oh my gosh, I am that. And there are a number of tricks for that. I always tell my herbal students, for example, if someone really gets under your skin, you do the thing that's bothering you.
Exactly.
That's why it bothers you that much, and you need to take a breath and cut it out.
Exactly.
And I think getting a reading from somebody who's not yourself gives you some of that perspective. It gets you to some of the places that it's hard to get to on your own. It short circuits that loop that we can have in our heads of, but I'm right. I'm sure I'm right. I must be right. Everybody else is wrong. And if you get to that point where it's everyone else is wrong, get a reading.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm a strong believer that if you keep on running into the same problem multiple times within a day, you might be the problem.
Yeah.
And that's just it. That doesn't mean that you're a bad person. That
No.
doesn't mean that you're broken. It just means that, well, you might need to take a different look at things and do things a little bit differently. Yeah. That's all.
Why do I always date this kind of person? Well, you might have some issues to work out.
And believe me when I say, a lot of the times when I know what I'm doing, why I'm so good at what I do is I was not necessarily the best person to myself when I was growing up or younger. I've had my own toxicity. I've been the common denominator of my problems. And so that's why it's one of those things where sometimes we know because we've also been there. Yeah. And so, it's like another reader I was talking with. We know the field, we're in the field and we're on the field at the same time. We're of the field and on the field.
Yes. We are observer participants from the old sociological lingo.
Exactly.
We can't help it. It's just who we are.
Exactly. So yes, definitely. That's always been one of those things that why it called me into this. And even when I would try to leave it, I would find myself still doing it all the time. And so therefore it was just one of those where, okay, I need to sit here for a reason. So
well, I think it seeps into the bones and the psyche and just the subconscious. And so if you live it, you tend to stay there. And it's kind of interesting to me, because I've absolutely seen people comment, oh, so-and-so really lives that. I really admire that. Well, okay. Hint. Yes. Live it.
Exactly. And it's not easy, but it's not as hard as we make it out to be also. Yeah. And that's really all it does. It's about accountability. And that's why a lot of people, you'll see them go into the love and light, new age side of spirituality. But the second that it comes into any of the darkness, which is actually just working on the self, they'll run because they look for a quick fix. And there's no quick fix. There's no one size fits all solution. And you gotta sometimes go into the depth of things.
Well, and if you're going to go into love and light, you're going to be shining lights in places that maybe are not comfortable for a little bit.
Exactly.
You got to work your way through them. There's no way around it.
Exactly. When you're shedding light on all of those things. And it's one of those things where if you're putting too much light into something, it also can cause blindness as well. And that's why you always have to find balance. It's about polarity.
Yeah, it is. So many polarities. Now you're doing readings today and tomorrow, and this is all good, but you're also going to be teaching the palmistry class.
Yes, on Sunday.
On Sunday at 4. That should be fun. When it comes to palmistry, what's your general philosophy? How do you read a palm just generally?
Okay, so when I'm reading the palm, I do go through for the 3 major lines first. I go for the heart line, I go for the mind's line, and I also go for the life line. Those also will sometimes turn into that M that you've been hearing about a lot lately. I go into how you can, because one thing I will tell you is your palms will change. And so therefore, if you're not connecting or you're having disconnection with the M's, those are areas in which you can finally actually work on to actually see your palm change into all of that. And so therefore, what I go into, I read it in the degrees and what that person might be going through at that particular time in their life to find that connection within themselves, to find forms of healing. One thing that I was also saying is a lot of our palms will even align with constellations. And that's another thing. It's because, well, it's like that term, as the universe, so the soul. And so therefore we are part of that. We are all part of like that form. Our body is a universe at that point in time. So you can actually, that's how I read when I read people's palms. And it also goes into astrology. And even how I even learned how to read runes was actually noticing that they were actually the lines in our palms.
I think that's very clever. I like that a lot.
Exactly. And so therefore, I mean, it's weird because a lot of people don't always agree. And I'm not going to sit here and say that my methods are the end all be all, but it is just how I learned was connecting dots.
That makes sense. So I'm going to guess that on Sunday, you're going to start with those 3 basic lines as the first primer and go from there as time goes on. And I'm sure it will depend on who's in the class. If we're talking about lots of first timers, or or a whole group that's their fifth time in the class will change what gets taught. So.
And also, what I'm going to do is ask them, especially what do they already know?
Yeah.
What can we elaborate on? Because even though I'm teaching a group, I do like to take the individualized approach to things, because that's just it. I don't want to walk in there assuming nobody knows what they're doing, because I've walked into many classes where people are just trying to get a brush up, or sometimes just trying to get another look at things. And so that's actually why on that class, I'm going to really go into more on that. I'll talk about the 3 lines initially and to expand on that, but also it's going to be more interactive, people finally being able to find out what they really, where they can build their strengths.
That's always useful. Yeah, I will say, it is interesting. The people who will retake the classes, people have retaken the palmistry classes that were taught by Chris. I've had people come and redo their Reiki training, which Reiki is permanent. Once you're a first degree initiate, it's for life. Second degree, it's for life. Third. But people do. They come back for that refresher. They want to re-plug in and recharge. And I think it's a valuable thing to do. I think it's a very valuable practice.
Exactly.
So
and that's exactly what I believe in too. Is because also I go to classes on things that I know a lot about, because I will sometimes need a refresher, or sometimes I'll even say, like, I'm not right all the time. So that's another reason why I like to actually learn a little bit more. You never really stop learning, especially in spirituality. It is, it's an everyday process. You're learning something new.
Yep. Yeah, I always describe it as there's always the next mountain.
Exactly.
And it's always a little taller than the last one. You're like, oh, goody, I get to go rock climbing again.
Exactly. So that's another thing why I love to teach the classes. I also will attend the classes myself. So.
And you're going to be teaching and starting in January a series on hoodoo and American folk magic. Tell us about that, please.
Okay, so one thing I'll say with the American folk magic is with hoodoo, a lot of people, there's been a lot of misinformation. And so partly why I'm doing all of that is kind of helping people reconnect with that form of magic, because American hoodoo and folk magic is actually the magic that a lot of people are practicing. And they don't even always really understand that, because it has multiple cultures. It has multiple, it's a lot of the indentured servants that were in this country. And it coming from their old cultures. And it wasn't just Africa. It has actually Irish, it has Native American, even Hispanic roots. And so and what's interesting is you'll even see some Asian philosophies and some of that stuff as well. So that's one of where I'm definitely going to be. I'm going to be talking about my family history in hoodoo, and how, and also as well as other people's and other parts of this country, which is why I'm very specific on saying American hoodoo, because there is several different types, and a lot of people will mix voodoo and hoodoo together. It's completely different, and I think that's why it'll give people a better idea of what hoodoo really is, as opposed to what the media has like to turn it into. And there's so much division in that I don't want to go there with it. But I do want to go into where it unites us, and I think that it will give people a better understanding.
Yeah, I think so too. It's always interested me, because my American family came from the South. Now, we were run out of the South, so we moved to Boston for a while. And it took until the latter part of the 20th century for the people in that town in the South to admit that those Johnsons over there in that part of the graveyard were related to them, because that's my... But even we have like one verbal spell that has lasted through the generations and survived. Has it survived partly because some people found it funny? Absolutely. Yes, they were amused by it. They didn't believe in it, but it survived. And I'm fascinated by that idea that it stays alive. In weird and strange ways. And mind you, my little American, because my mother was not born here. My grandparents were not born here, but they became citizens here, right? So my American grandmother, bless her soul, was called Saint Alice by her own children for her ardent Catholicism. And yet that's the family that we have these odd little spells from. So I think it's amazing that the stuff gets passed down. And for the families who keep it more whole, clearly, than my family bothered to, kudos, good for you, excellent job. And I love that it is about learning from each other at that point.
Exactly.
And sharing what you know and getting. So if you need to get rid of a sty and you know there's a funeral happening in your town, by all means, let me know. I will give you the spell. But how often is that going to come up? I mean, seriously.
Exactly.
And for those of you who don't know, a sty is it's usually a calcium deposit. It's a little growth in or near the eye.
Or if you want to find out the truth about if your husband or wife is being unfaithful, just use their chicken bones and put it under their bed.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So therefore you'll see. I mean, some of these things will even sound completely silly to some people. Yeah. But don't underestimate it. And that's one thing I do know about the Southern magic, and especially living in the bayous and my family being that way. It was just one of those things where those small things that people will sometimes even forget or even ignore are actually very major.
They are. They're incredibly significant, it turns out, when you actually look at them and play with them and figure out how they work and what the real limits are.
Exactly.
So because when I say play with caution.
Exactly.
Play inside the fence.
Exactly. Because some of these things they'll play back with you.
Yes, they will.
And their version of play is not the same as our version of play.
No. What is safe for them is not necessarily what is safe for you. And I find that's true. I find that's true with deities as well as magic.
Exactly.
You get a deity come down and say, I would very much like you to take this hallucinogenic mushroom in some wine, and you just blink and you go,
no, thank you. Yeah.
Not happening. I'm sorry.
And I mean, also, that's the same thing with ancestors. Not all of our ancestors always have our best interest. And sometimes some of our ancestors will still be earthbound with some of those unfortunate ways of thinking. Yeah. So that's another thing I like to talk about in my spiritual classes is okay, well, this is the type of ancestor that you don't really want to be trusting, but then there's also certain ancestors that you do. And then you also it's about discernment. It's about also really just knowing your limits and knowing that, hey, okay, there have to be some boundaries here as well.
Yeah. And they're individuals, which means they're always a mixed bag.
Exactly.
So I have an ancestor who disobeyed army orders because he thought they were racist. And he also always moved his family into red line districts. So I'm not saying he wasn't racist, and I'm saying he wasn't racist. At the same time, he was a man of his era.
Exactly.
A product of his times. And did he mean well? Yes. Was he beloved by many? Good God, he could have been a great con man. Yes. Was he a con man? No, his ethics took care of that. He couldn't do that. But when you're drawing on ancestors, I think you've got to remember the time and the place they lived.
Exactly.
What they had to do to survive.
Exactly.
And not just literally, but also socially. So you're going to have weird, well, if I call on that ancestor to help me stand up to anti-Semitism, will he be on my side? Yes, he will. Will he approve of this conversation? No, he will not.
There were some ancestors that my mother was able to work with, but I couldn't work with because I was mixed and also because of my sexuality. So believe me when I say, not all of our ancestors always have our best interests, like I say. Yeah. But it's another thing where there were some that I connected with just fine, but my mother couldn't connect with. And so therefore there's you have to really go into the product of their time. Also, what is their mindset? And again, is that an earthbound spirit or is it one that is visiting you from the other side? So you sometimes have to be a little careful. And a lot of times a lot of teachers will sometimes just say, oh yeah, all of your ancestors, or they will go in with their own biases. And that's why you have to always have discernment. I think it's absolutely vital. And and as you said, just because you can have a positive relationship with an ancestor does not mean that someone else in your family can. Right.
Or would choose to, for that matter.
Exactly.
I can completely understand if somebody goes, that ancestor of yours, I know they're my ancestor too. I want nothing to do with them.
Exactly.
Completely understandable. And there's nothing wrong with making those decisions.
Mhm.
So now that I've gotten to I told you I was feeling ranty today. I don't know why, but I'm ranty today.
But it's perfect because that's another thing. It is Wednesday, days of communication, Mercury retrograde. Wednesday is a Mercury day.
It
so
is.
Those crossroads are very active for all of us.
It is. Yeah, I talked about the days of the week yesterday on the short. And and I always go to French. Go to French or Spanish if you're doing your days of the week and you want to figure out what planet, if you don't have them just cold memorized. If you go to Spanish or French or any Latin language, I'm sure Italian will do the same. The name will be embedded rather than a Germanic deity name, which is the case in English. But yeah, Mardi, Mercredi, Mars Day, Mercury's Day, Vendredi Day, Venus's Day. You'll get them all. I promise. It's easy. As soon as you grasp that tiny little bit of some Latin language, because that's where the planet names come from that we're using. So
Saturday, Saturn, there we go.
Yeah, exactly. But Thursday is tougher. Oh, yeah. You got to go through the
permutation.
Anyway, I can't believe we're out of time, but we are out of time. We have to go open the stories, got to go do readings. I've got to go do what I like to call the ornery things. And hopefully you enjoyed our chat. We look forward to seeing your comments and all of that wonderful stuff. And have a great week, everybody. Blessed be.
I say.